Phil Dixon with another edition of This Day in Black Baseball History. And we're looking at the April 29th, 2026 edition of this ongoing conversation that never seems to stop. And we don't want it to stop, really, be honest with you. We want to keep it going for as long as we can. Lots of learning going on here. And as you well know, I'm going for the 868 subscribers, and now I'm at 818, picked up 18 since when the last couple of days. So making lots of progress there. I am looking now, I have just passed 500 video shorts. It's a combination videos, shorts, and then also lives. So I'm at 503, guys. Okay. So we're going to keep it going here. I might go back and maybe remove some of my old shorts and push it back to 500 and try to hold it there. Okay. Because those shorts are just little introductions to what's in the live or either in the video. Okay. So no use keeping all of those. So I might go back. So it might go back to 500, maybe go back to 499, then we hit 500 again. So thank you. I want to thank everybody for joining tonight. If you are listening to this broadcast or if you come in, be sure to subscribe and also let us know where you're joining from. And if you enjoy what we are doing here, by all means, go ahead and share this to your community. That would certainly help. And that's how we've been building these subscribers up since I came in on June or July. I still haven't figured out which day that I came in, but I'm trying to figure that out now. But it was June or July. So I'm trying to hit those subscribers before we get to 1 year. All right. And that magic number for me is 1,000. But first, we have to hit the 868. Okay. So I have lots of things to cover tonight. I was on earlier today when I went down and did a live down from the Urban Youth Academy down off of Vine Street. It's right behind the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum. And then I looked at the apartments across the street that they are about to demolish. And that's where Maurice Doolittle Young used to live. And that's where I conducted many interviews with him and would go to visit Maurice Doolittle Young. He passed away back in the 80s, mid 80s at that, maybe 84, 85. And they had his funeral there at the Catholic Church, and I went to his funeral as well. So I am just touching base with you and keeping this broadcast going. And so hopefully you're ready. You ready for some more action, right? Okay, so we got a lot of people in here. Once again, remember, let me know where you're joining from. Somebody says, Steve Harvey, it's you. And I tell you what, now that's a person that when they look, they see us African Americans, they think we all look alike. Come on, guys, give me a break. I don't look anything like Steve Harvey. Give me a break. Hey, so hey, you come to a real place, so I have to give you real information and I give you real facts too. So all right. So once again, guys, remember I'm looking for the 868 subscribers. So if that's you, let me know. And where are you joining from? Yeah, this is Ben U 1R9W. Okay, where are you joining from, Ben? At Ben. Okay. Well, I tell you what. Let's jump right in here. Let's go. This one's not too great a one, but it is something that happened. April 29th, 1900, Jim Epps, a Negro baseball player and member of the Brooklyn, Illinois team. Now, most people don't know that there's a Brooklyn, Illinois, right? It's close to St. Louis. Anyway, well, he was shot and killed at Newport, Illinois. Newport, Illinois. A lot going on in Illinois, and most people don't know that area. That's close to, if I'm correct, down by East St. Louis, right? Okay, so let's keep it going here. April 29th, 1901, the Cuban X Giants and the New Haven State League team played a 14-inning game at Salvin Rock Park. So I guess it'd be Savin Rock Park. The game ended in a 7-7 tie due to darkness. Dan McQuillan and Kid Carter pitched for the X Giants, and second baseman Saul White finished the game with 5 hits and Bill Monroe slammed a couple of doubles. That was April the 29th, 1901. The Cuban X Giants. And and I talk a lot about Dan McQuillan, who I think deserves Hall of Fame consideration and actually enshrinement. And then also Kid Carter. I haven't mentioned him very much, but I've talked about Saul
Mm.
White quite a bit, and also Bill Monroe almost every night, right? Bill Monroe, I know that he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. All right. So let's go to another one here. Let's keep it going here. How about April 29th, 1906? We're going to jump up a little bit. Emmett Bowman of the Philadelphia Giants hurled a three-hitter and shut out the Pittston brothers team by a score of 10-0 in Pittston. And Mike Moore, the third baseman, and I haven't talked much about Mike Moore. He was a great player, man, and a great utility player too. Born in Detroit, lived in Chicago, and he died from tuberculosis, by the way. But he hit the ball, and out of this park there, it's called Brothers Park. They said he hit that over the left field fence, and he had room to spare, and they said it was the longest drive ever seen in the park. So, and this guy is not even one of your premier Negro League players that we talk about, but he played for some darn good teams. That was Mike Moore. I don't know if you know much about Mike Moore, but yeah, he was definitely the real deal. Grew up around Chicago, but originally born in Detroit, Michigan. Right? Somebody said, "Give him a break, guys, please." you sometimes you guys are too funny. Anyway, but anyway, if anybody comes on and say you look like Steve Harvey, and you know good and well you don't, you got to say, yeah, give me a break, right? All right, okay. So let's keep it going here. Here, let's go to April 29, 1911. The Washington D.C. based Ashbury Browns, considered to be the fastest and best aggregation of African American players in the district, and they are getting ready for the 1911 season. And their lineup will include the following players. And what's sad about some of the stuff is that they don't always give the first name, so you have to always dig for more information. Most of the time, they'll give you just the initials, and that's the case here. So in this particular game or this particular team, the following players will sign up: P. Cook, and J. Ross, and H. Jackson, and E. Gatewood, and H. Johnson, J. Scott, D. Dispert, and E. Taylor, and J. C. Collins. And I really prefer to say these players' names. So what I'll end up doing is keeping this little list of players, and then I'll go in and dig a little deeper and see if I can't find some of these guys' first names. And who knows? They have family out there. Most of these people have family, and it's always interesting that uh, people think us as African Americans, we don't know who our people are, but we certainly do, right? We certainly do. And there's so much about the African American experience that I think that the majority population doesn't really know. And so I have the pleasure of coming on and educating people all the time, and that's what I enjoy to do. I enjoy doing that. Okay. So once again, if you're joining from anywhere, by all means, let me know where you are coming from. All right. So nobody's saying anything today. I guess um, somebody said, I'm black too, LOL. And yes, you do. All right. Well, one of these days, I'm gonna go to his page and see who he looks like, and then I'm gonna send him something that says who he looks like, right? I don't know who. I'm gonna go to his page. So, Ben, I'm gonna look you up and see if you have any pictures on your page. Then I'll say who you look like, and then we'll have some fun here. Anyway, hey, got Chillicothe coming in, and Chillicothe, Missouri. Doug is the one that does a lot of work on Vasco Graham. I talked about Vasco Graham the other night, and you just happened not to be on that night, right? Chillicothe, Missouri, I always call that home of the sliced bread. People used to get their bread in a loaf, and the guy in Chillicothe came up with the idea of slicing it and putting it in a bag and selling it, right? So he was the first one to slice some bread. Chillicothe, Missouri, right? Most of you guys, if you're out east or something, you probably never heard of this, but of course, around here in the Midwest, and especially me being from Kansas City, we definitely know about Chillicothe. Okay, so let's keep it going here. How about this? The April 29th, 1915, the New York Lincoln Stars secured four consecutive hits in the ninth inning, which gave them 2 runs in a 3-2 defeat of Howard University and New York's Lincoln Oval. So Howard University came over to play the Lincoln Stars, and boy, they had to come from behind to beat the college team. So Howard must have had a pretty good team, right? 1915, they might have had Doc Sykes. He was pitching around that time. So anyway, Richard Harvey, pitching for the Lincoln Star, struck out 10 of the Howard batters. So he had a great game there. All right. Let's see. How about this one? This is a game that the French Lick Plutos lost. April 27, 1914. Arthur Johnson, pitching for the Otts, that's OTTOS, no hit the French Lick Plutos at Logansport, Indiana. In winning the game, Jackson struck out, or Johnson, excuse me, Johnson struck out 14 Pluto batters. And the reason they called their team Pluto because they were based around a mineral spring, and the some I guess entrepreneurs in that town said, well, we can bottle this water and sell it because people thought that these waters had medicinal, I can't even say the word, medicinal powers, and they would heal your body. So they bottled it up and they were selling Pluto water. Well, quite naturally, they needed a little help to help promote their water. So they organized an African American team that could travel around the state and have the name, the French Lick Plutos, and that is how they sold their water. And so there was another team that was let's see, you had the French Lick Plutos and what's the other team? Oh shucks, I'll call them West Baden, West Baden Sprudels, and that was C.I. Taylor put them on the map around 1910, and they were selling sprudel water. So you got you got two kind of water, and they're coming from natural springs, kind of springs you see in Hot Springs, Arkansas. Well, they had springs up there, so that's what they were selling. So that's the reason why they're called the French Lick Plutos. And don't forget the West Baden Sprudel. So I think if you go online uh, to say you'll go to eBay and Google either one of those products, and you'll see that they have bottles for sale uh, from those companies. Who knows? There's probably somebody opening up a company there now. It's always some entrepreneur trying to do something unique, right? All right, so we're just dancing along here. Now, once again, now, in case you didn't get my advertisement at the beginning. I am going for 868 subscribers, which is my Sahara O number. And Sahara O is the famous Japanese baseball player who hit 868 home runs. So I'm going to talk about him one of these days well, before we get to that number and let you know why I think that he needs to be remembered. Okay, let's keep it going. How about this? April 29th, 1928, first baseman Rev Kennedy picked up 5 hits in the Hillsdale's doubleheader win. Can't talk. Doubleheader win over the Bushwicks in Brooklyn, with 3 hits in game one and 2 hits in the second encounter, with a double in each game, as the Derby Daisies walked off with a 7-3 and 11-7 win. Others who performed well were second baseman Frank Warfield, who picked up 6 hits. Let's see, 6 hits with 2 in game 1 and 4 in the second encounter. And one of them was a double to defeat lefty Stanley Bumgardner, the former Philadelphia Phillies, and Philadelphia Athletics Southpaw, who allowed 5 runs in the first inning. So they knocked Bumgardner off the mound, right? And now I'm gonna tell you what, Rev Kennedy, man, Rev Kennedy was a great player. I talked about him in my Dizzy Dean book that I wrote, The Dizzy and Daffy Dean Barnstorming Tour, Race, Media, and America's National Pastime. If you don't have that one, guys, that's a very interesting approach to covering, or it's a unique way that you could cover Barnstorming series. And so I talk about Barnstorming all the time. So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to let you know about Rev Kennedy. And then also Frank Wickware, excuse me, I'm going too fast. Frank Warfield was a sensational infielder, and he died in 19, I want to say 32, died in a hotel room in Pittsburgh. Had a heart attack. And he was buried back in Indianapolis. And by the way, he was a Catholic. And most people didn't know that. Okay, let's see. How about this one? I'm going to jump ahead because we just mentioned something about Frank Walter Rev Kennedy. All right. So let's do Rev Kennedy again against the same team. But this time we're gonna go to what year should we go to? Let's see. I'm gonna check real quick to see. Let's go to 1934. And that is the same year that he played against the Dizzy Dean All Stars. Let me put something here right quick. This is my spreadsheet. I just noticed something I want to change. Okay, so the New York Black Yankees and the Brooklyn Bushwicks. Now, he was playing for Hildale the first time. Now he's playing for the New York Black Yankees, the same guy. And they split a doubleheader by 8-5 and 9-8 scored in Brooklyn. Now, Rev Kennedy, with 3 hits in the opener and 3 hits in the nightcap, finished with 6 safe blows, right? Hit a double and a triple in game one and stole a base, then returned to hit another double later that night. This is the same guy. Now, I talk a lot about different players, but I want you to know that I don't try to build up anybody that doesn't deserve to be talked about. And Rev Kennedy is one that I wish we would talk about more. I really do. And once again, I even put a picture of him in my Dizzy Dean book. And it was a picture from when he played with the Harrisburg Giants back in 1924, 25, somewhere in there. So that is Rev Kennedy. And then also, another guy had an outstanding game was David Showboat Thomas. I love that name. First baseman from Mobile, Alabama. Some good ball players came from Mobile, Alabama. One of them, I have his autographed bat in the corner, Amos Otis. Probably heard of Amos Otis. Hey, I know you heard of Hammer and Hank Aaron. He's a Mobile guy. Billy Williams came from just outside of Mobile, a little town called Whistler, Alabama. So, Mobile had some good players. And who can forget Double Duty Ratcliffe from Mobile, Alabama? Or how about this one? Who will ever forget Leroy Satchel Page, Mobile, Alabama? So it gives me a chance to talk about David Showboat Thomas. And you can imagine, guys, with a name like Showboat, he must have been awfully colorful. And so, have you ever heard of Showboat Thomas? Showboat Thomas? Yeah. Some great stories about Showboat because I have so many things in here. It's hard for me to get all this information in, but I'm going to give you one more. Then I'm going to probably go out. I might finish before 25 minutes tonight. All right. So once again, we got one person joining. I know from Chillicothe. Anybody else want to put in where they are from? And of course, I have presented in Chillicothe before. And we'd love to come back sometime. It's been a while since I was in Chillicothe, and when I presented in Chillicothe, I was on my 200 city tour, and they were one of the 200 cities that I visited on that tour and gave 45-minute speeches. Can you imagine giving 245-minute speeches in a period of 4 years? I think I did in 4 years. But what's interesting is if I went to a city like Omaha or Wichita or St. Louis or some of those places, I think I went to Oklahoma City more than once. I would only mention the city if I went there one time. So to get the 200 cities, I wanted 200 different. I didn't want to keep repeating the same one. So to get that 200, I might have done 250 cities. And it was a remarkable tour. So somebody said, we definitely want you back. Hey, I would love to come back. I have a new program that I have, and every year I kind of change it up a little bit. And I guess you didn't see me the first time I came in. Am I right on that? Um, yeah, it's been a few years. I tell you what, is that a yes or no? Did you see me? Yes or no? I'm going to think no. But we had a good crowd that night. We certainly did. And so, all right then. So why don't I just go ahead and give you a Missouri fact here? Okay. So, how about April 29th, 1936? So, down in Cassville, Missouri, the Kansas City Monarchs knocked off the Cassville Blues by a 6-3 come from behind win. Now, it looked like Cassville was going to win this game. Cassville is they played in a little league down there. Had Neosho was in the league, Cassville, and Monette was in the league down. It's down around close to the Ozarks. So it looked like they were going to win the game, but the Monarchs came back, scored 4 in the 6th, 1 in the 7th, and 1 in the 8th for the win. And pitching that day for Kansas City was a guy by the name of Mike Tudeberry. Floyd Cranston and Bob Madison and Harry Else did the catching. Now, the one I want to talk about is Mike Tuterberry because I did interview him. And I did interview Floyd Cranston's sister too, but let me go back to Mike Berry. I interviewed him. He had originally played baseball in Kansas City, Kansas, my hometown. Then, of course, he caught on with the Monarchs, and then he ended up catching on with some other team. Didn't stick with the Monarchs, but he ended up going out to Oakland, California, and that is where he passed away. And believe it or not, Cranston was also out in Oakland, California. That's where he passed away. So when I hooked up with Mike Berry and talking to him on the phone, he was able to give me a lot of good information on Floyd Cranston as well, and that's how I was able to locate Floyd's sister. But Tudeberry told me that when he played for the Monarchs, he said that Andy Cooper was the manager, and how he would call for his relief pitchers because they'd be out down the line and what we call in baseball the bullpen. So they'd be down the line. And so to get his pitcher, he said he would whistle. So he had a great, distinguished, loud whistle. And so he would whistle. And that's how the pitcher knew that it was time, somebody's going to change. And then he held up a right arm or a left arm. And then if you're a righty, he over right arm. And then all the righties would look at each other and they point. He said, no, no. And he get the one he want, right? He didn't walk down there. He whistled. And first time I ever heard that was from Mike Tuterberry. And Mike said that one time somebody played a joke on it was somebody else whistling. And he looked down there and he thought it was Cooper. So he kept looking. He kept hearing the whistle, but it wasn't Cooper. It was one of the other players playing a joke on him. So I guess Cooper wasn't the only one who could whistle, right? So I bet you if you read um, anything, okay, I challenge you to go on the line and read the bio of Andy Cooper, and I guarantee you, you will not read anything about him whistling to get his relief pitchers down down into the game. I bet you didn't know that. So, yeah, yep. Okay, I see. So I know you mentioned Vasco Graham and Hervina Whitting, Whittling. Excuse me. Man, she was some kind of a writer. I can tell you that I've researched a lot of people's writings and looked at a lot of reporters over the years, but she was a great writer. And so she did your city a great service. And she wrote some wonderful things about Satchel Paige as well. And I think I used those when I came down there. I ought to dig up that PowerPoint and see if I still have her quote in there, and maybe I will recite it sometime. So okay, so let's go. How about this one? Let's see. Do I want to go down one more? Okay, well, we'll do one more, and then maybe I'll come back and get this one tomorrow. But no, I'm gonna go ahead and do it. I'm gonna go ahead and do it. Okay. So and that will close with this one, and then I will save the other one, or either I'll just hit it real quickly and we'll be out of here. So do you want me to send it to you? Yes, yes, you can go ahead. You can go ahead. Now I do have the article in my file. When I went on the 200 city tour, I kept a file from every city that I went to, but it took me a minute to get it out. So I would love to hear what she wrote about Paige because I remember it was profound. That's what I do remember, and I just thought it was great. All right. Okay, so how about this? April 29th, 1958. Now, at this time, I'm 2 years old, so I wouldn't know anything about it, but I was going to be coming into baseball in a few years after that, at age 6 or 7, and I've been at it ever since. So I'm 2 years old, and the article was titled "Tigers Won't Set a Date to Have Negro Player," and they were talking about the Detroit Tigers, and that was the name of the article that was making the rounds. And it was about the Detroit team who refused to set a date by which the baseball club will have a Negro player on its roster, despite a group's threat to boycott Briggs Stadium. Now, Harvey Hansen, the Tigers president, said a group which calls itself the Briggs Stadium Boycott Committee, headed by Reverend George Hill Jr. and dean of Detroit's Theological Seminary, who claims a membership of about 40 pastors, demanded to know when the club planned to sign a Negro major leaguer to their contract or assign a Negro to a major league contract, right? And Hansen said they insist that we make such commitments, whether we had a qualified player or not. And so we're not just looking for a Negro player, we're looking for a qualified player. So, and believe me, there were a lot of qualified players at that time. He said, we refuse, however, to make a definite commitment in spite of the threat of a boycott. So but they're getting serious up in Detroit, and Detroit had one of the largest African American populations in the country at that time. I think at that particular time, Detroit was either like I think the third largest American city, and behind Chicago and New York. So Detroit is definitely in the top five at that particular time, and it had a lot of African Americans there, and they don't have a player. And you got to think about the Brooklyn Dodgers have Jackie Robinson in 1947. Now it's 11 years later, and they still don't have anybody. And guess what? They're not winning championships either. So he went on to say, we refuse, however, to make a definite commitment in spite of the threat of boycott. So we make every effort to develop qualified big league players, regardless of color. Okay, all right, okay. Say, tell me anything, right? And that we would have a Negro player on our roster at the earliest date that such a qualified player is ready. Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. Okay. Then he went on to say there are 17 Negroes in on our 180 player roster form in the form systems. So in response to that, Reverend Hill said, "We feel that the club has had ample opportunity and time to hire a player, and unless this team agrees to his group's demands." Picket lines will be set up outside Briggs Stadium. So, man, it's getting serious up there. And of course, Detroit finally did get a black player, a guy named Ozzie Virgil. I think he was the first one to sign, and he never was a big star. But later on, they would have some big stars. I remember Earl Wilson when I was coming along. That was in the '60s. Of course, Willie Horton was another one. I'm trying to think. There was a guy named Wood, Jake Wood. He was another guy there, and but they could have traded and got somebody, right? I'm sure they had some people they could do. So anyway, that just kind of gives you a little bit information out of some of the struggles that have gone on through the years, and we take these things for granted, like it's old ancient history. But yeah, there's a story to all of every player getting there. It's a story behind it. So the last one of the night I'm going to use, April 29th, 1961, a pair of Willie McCovey home runs helped the San Francisco Giants to a 7-3 win over Milwaukee's National League Braves at Milwaukee County Stadium. All right. So that kind of does it for me tonight, guys. I don't know if I picked up any subscribers, but I always look. Let me take a peek here. I may have, maybe not. I don't know. You never know. Um, hey, picked up. We went from 818 to 822. Thank you very much, and I appreciate you joining me here. And I'm going to go back and find. Let's see, what's his website? The guy here said I look like Steve Harvey. Yeah, let's see. Wait a minute. Let me write this down here right quick. I'm gonna write this down because I like to. One thing about that makes this fun is the follow through, right? So he's at BEN dash U1 R9W. Okay, so that's BEN. Okay, all right. Dash. Okay, I think I got it. All right, and I'm gonna go see what he looks like, and who knows, he might look like Richard Pryor or something. Who knows? I don't know who he looks like. Anyway, I have fun here, guys, and it's what all of this is. It's about baseball, and baseball is a wonderful game. I know Ted Redcliffe. I did an appearance with him in Minneapolis many years ago, and I remember he closed with he said that was Ted Double Duty Radcliffe. He said if God made something better than a woman in baseball, he kept it to himself, and that was his favorite quote. And that was Ted Double Duty Radcliffe. Man, he lived to be over 100 years old. Good guy, man, smoke a cigar, and I would go up and go to his house, and we sit around and talk. Sometimes we go out, sit around the car there, and right there, he lived in a housing kind of project in Chicago, and man, you would think it was tough, but back then, man, everybody knew him, and I'd sit out there with him. I was 20 something years old. I didn't have no, wasn't scared of nobody. I wasn't scared. So anyway, guys, thank you for joining me tonight. And guys, we're gonna keep building, man. So hey, we're on the way. I think, well, since Sunday we picked up 22 subscribers, and that's always a good thing. And so maybe we'll hit this 868. It was a stretch, guy. I used to try to put down maybe about 20 a week, but well, we passed 20 already. Is it just Wednesday evening? So I will be back, and hopefully you will be back. And thanks for joining. And as always, I appreciate everything that you guys and everybody who follows, whether you bought a book, whether you've listened to a broadcast, whether you've come to hear me speak. And I certainly appreciate you because without you, this is no fun. It's no fun. I can talk to myself all day long, but believe me, it's not half as interesting as me getting somebody on here saying you look like Steve Harvey, and I'm gonna go see what he looks like. So, okay, guys. So anyway, have a nice evening, and I'll see you tomorrow with another edition of This Day in Black Baseball History. And I'll see if I can find something good on Vasco Graham since you joined me several times and see if I can't find something unique. Maybe you haven't stumbled across yet, right? So this has been the April 29th, 2026 edition of this ongoing conversation that we refuse to stop. So thank you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow for sure. All right. You have a nice evening. Bye.